For privacy reasons, names and places have been changed. This story is inspired by true events.
On a crisp morning in 2010, 37-year-old Ethan Caro left his home, bound for northern New Mexico's rugged Rio Grande corridor, a region rumored to conceal a fabled treasure. He never returned, despite an extensive search by local authorities and volunteer teams scouring the treacherous terrain. Ethan Caro vanished without a trace, leaving behind only the cryptic clues of his quest. For 15 agonizing years, his family endured a silence that echoed with questions and gnawing uncertainty. Then, in 2025, a startling discovery was made. Drone footage revealed a sun-bleached backpack clinging precariously to a remote talus bench. This is the complete investigation into what happened to Ethan Caro, the treasure hunter who disappeared into the mountains. Before we continue, let us know where you're watching from, and if you enjoy this content, consider liking and subscribing to our channel. Now let's continue. Ethan Caro, at 37, was not merely a man with a hobby. He was a dedicated adherent to a singular pursuit. His life revolved around the intricate world of puzzle chasing, a cerebral and often physically demanding endeavor that saw him deciphering complex riddles to locate hidden caches. For Caro, the thrill lay not just in the discovery, but in the intellectual challenge, the meticulous planning, and the solitary communion with the wild. He possessed an adventurous spirit, meticulously preparing for each expedition, driven by a quiet determination that bordered on obsession. He was a man who understood and respected the wilderness, yet consistently sought to test its boundaries. His chosen arena for these enigmatic quests was often the rugged expanse of northern New Mexico, specifically the Rio Grande corridor of the Rocky Mountains. This region, a tapestry of high desert plateaus, deep river gorges, and towering peaks, presented a landscape of breathtaking beauty and formidable challenge. Its vastness could swallow a person whole. Its unpredictable weather patterns could turn quickly, and its isolation offered little margin for error, particularly for a solo adventurer. The allure of its untouched wilderness, however, was precisely what drew Caro deeper into its embrace, promising both profound solitude and ultimate reward for the persistent. In the autumn of 2010, Ethan Caro embarked on what would become his final hunt. He had spent weeks, perhaps months, meticulously interpreting a particularly complex riddle, its cryptic verses hinting at a cache hidden deep within the Rio Grande corridor. He set out alone, as was his custom, carrying only what was essential for a multi-day trek, his mind keenly focused on the coordinates he believed he had finally unlocked. His departure was unremarkable, a familiar routine for those who knew him, yet it marked an irreversible turning point into the formidable terrain. The alarm was first raised not by any distress signal, but by silence. Ethan Caro had a standing arrangement to check back by a specific date and time, a crucial safety protocol that underpinned his solitary adventures. When that designated window passed without word, the initial concern quickly escalated into profound worry. Days bled into a week, then more, and the terrifying realization solidified. Ethan Caro had vanished. No trace of him emerged from the vast wilderness. There was no sign of struggle, no abandoned vehicle by a trailhead, no note of explanation. Just a sudden, inexplicable absence, leaving behind a chilling void in the heart of the Rocky Mountains. The mystery of his disappearance began then, a haunting question mark etched onto the unforgiving landscape. The initial concern for Ethan Caro's overdue check-in quickly intensified. When repeated attempts to contact him failed, his family formally notified authorities, triggering a full-scale search and rescue operation. The New Mexico State Police and local sheriff's departments were immediately alerted, understanding the critical window of time in such rugged terrain. Deputy Marisol Ortega, a seasoned officer with the local sheriff's department, was among the first to mobilize. Her extensive experience navigating the challenging landscapes of northern New Mexico made her an invaluable asset. She quickly assumed a coordinating role, deploying teams to known trailheads and potential entry points within the vast Rio Grande corridor. The urgency was palpable. Every hour that passed diminished the chances of a successful outcome. The search for Ethan Caro was immediately confronted by the formidable environment itself. The Rocky Mountain terrain in this region is characterized by extreme variations in altitude, from arid high desert to steep alpine zones, interspersed with dense forests, treacherous talus slopes, and deep, unforgiving canyons. Unpredictable weather, including sudden temperature drops and strong winds, further complicated operations. The sheer scale of the search area, hundreds of square miles of largely untracked wilderness, presented an overwhelming challenge for even the most experienced teams. Within hours of the alarm being raised, an extensive search was underway. Ground teams, comprising trained search and rescue volunteers, deputies and K-9 units, meticulously scoured every accessible canyon and ridge. Overhead, helicopters equipped with early thermal imaging technology flew grid patterns, their powerful spotlights piercing the pre-dawn darkness, hoping to detect any sign of life. Local rangers provided crucial intelligence on the most remote and dangerous sections of the corridor, guiding teams through areas known for their deceptive beauty and inherent risks. Despite these exhaustive efforts, days of relentless searching yielded nothing. As the initial urgency gave way to a grinding, methodical operation, frustration began to mount. Every promising lead, a discarded item, a faint footprint, a distant flash of color, proved to be unconnected to Ethan Caro. The wilderness offered no clear answers, only an oppressive silence that swallowed all efforts. For Deputy Ortega and her dedicated teams, the lack of any tangible clue was profoundly disheartening, slowly eroding hope. For Ethan's family, each passing day without news was a fresh, agonizing blow, deepening the profound uncertainty of his fate. The initial investigation, though thorough and relentless, was slowly succumbing to the overwhelming vastness of the mountains and the complete absence of evidence. As the relentless search for Ethan Caro stretched into its third month, the initial surge of urgency and hope began to fracture under the weight of futility. Despite the exhaustive efforts of ground teams, K-9 units, and aerial surveillance, the vastness of the Rio Grande corridor had yielded no definitive clues, no trace of the missing puzzle chaser. Resources, both human and financial, were finite, and the grim reality of diminishing returns became undeniable. Deputy Marisol Ortega, who had poured countless hours into coordinating the search, faced the painful necessity of accepting its limitations. The difficult decision was made to reduce active search operations, transitioning from an intensive recovery effort to a more passive, albeit persistent, missing persons investigation. The vibrant intensity of the initial weeks faded into a quiet, gnawing persistence. Ethan Caro's file, once a priority atop every desk, gradually receded into the archives, becoming another unsolved mystery in a region that held many. Days turned into weeks, then months and eventually years, each passing calendar cycle deepening the chasm of silence surrounding his disappearance. The active investigation officially transitioned into a cold case, a stark designation that spoke of unanswered questions and unfulfilled hopes. For Ethan's family and friends, the lack of closure was a perpetual torment. There was no grave to visit, no confirmed fate to mourn, only the agonizing uncertainty that clung to every memory of him. The wilderness, which he had so loved and respected, had seemingly swallowed him whole, offering no explanation, no final sign. The profound impact of this unresolved disappearance reverberated through their lives, a constant aching void. Occasionally, a new lead would be reported, a hiker's distant sighting, a piece of discarded gear, prompting brief, renewed inquiries, but each proved to be a dead end, only reinforcing the impenetrable mystery. The file would be pulled, reviewed, and then returned to its shelf, awaiting a breakthrough that never seemed to come. 15 years passed in this haunting silence, a decade and a half during which Ethan Caro's fate remained a chilling, unyielding enigma, a testament to the unforgiving power of the Rocky Mountains and the enduring pain of an unresolved vanishing act. The Rio Grande corridor kept its secrets, and Ethan Caro's story became a quiet legend of the lost. 15 years later, the world had transformed. Technological advancements, particularly in unmanned aerial vehicles or UAVs, drones, had revolutionized many fields. These nimble, autonomous aircraft, equipped with high-resolution cameras and advanced sensors, could now navigate terrain previously inaccessible or too dangerous for human search teams, offering unprecedented detail from above. This technological leap would, quite unexpectedly, breathe new life into a case long considered insurmountable. It was in the spring of 2025 that Trent Hughes, a seasoned UAV pilot specializing in environmental mapping and volunteer search initiatives, was conducting a routine survey over a remote section of the Rio Grande corridor. His drone, a sophisticated piece of equipment, meticulously captured data of the rugged landscape. As his eyes scanned the live feed, a subtle anomaly flickered across his screen. High on a talus bench, a steep slope littered with broken rocks amidst the weathered greys and browns, lay a splash of faded color. It was indistinct at first, almost blending, but its geometric shape stood out. Hughes paused the drone, zooming in. What emerged was unmistakably a backpack, sun-bleached and weathered, a ghost of its original hue. The discovery was immediately reported to local authorities, reigniting a flicker of possibility in a case long dormant. Deputy Marisol Ortega, still serving the community, found herself looking at digital images that might finally offer answers. A ground team, guided by Trent Hughes' precise coordinates, embarked on the arduous hike to the remote talus bench. The ascent was challenging, a testament to the unforgiving nature of the terrain that had guarded its secret for so long. Upon reaching the site, the team confirmed Hughes's sighting. There, partially buried under loose scree, lay a backpack. Its fabric was severely degraded by years of sun and elements, but its form was intact. With painstaking care, following strict forensic protocols, the team secured the sun-bleached pack, placing it into an evidence bag. The retrieval of the backpack sent a ripple of grim confirmation through the community, and for Ethan Carrow's family, a potent mix of dread and renewed, fragile hope. After 15 years of agonizing silence, a tangible piece of the puzzle had finally emerged from the wilderness, hinting that the Rio Grande corridor might at last be ready to surrender its secrets. The long wait was potentially over, but the answers it promised were likely to be painful. The discovery of the sun-bleached backpack unequivocally shattered the 15-year silence surrounding Ethan Carrow's disappearance. For Deputy Marisol Ortega, who had carried the weight of the unsolved case for so long, the find represented a seismic shift, instantly reactivating an investigation that had long been considered cold. The retrieved pack, carefully sealed in an evidence bag, was transported to the State Forensic Lab, where a new team, guided by the renewed urgency, prepared to meticulously peel back the layers of time. The initial forensic examination of the pack was a delicate, painstaking process. Years of exposure to the relentless elements of the Rio Grande corridor had taken their toll. The fabric was brittle, the buckles rusted, and the contents, though protected to some degree, were also severely degraded. Forensic technicians working in a sterile environment meticulously documented every grain of dirt, every fiber and every item, hoping to glean any information that could speak to Ethan Carrow's final moments. Among the few personal effects that survived the relentless march of time, a rusted multi-tool, a desiccated energy bar wrapper. One item stood out with particular significance for a man known as a puzzle chaser, a folded map. Though faded and creased, bearing the unmistakable signs of extensive outdoor use, the map was carefully extracted. Its potential importance was immediately recognized, but its condition presented a formidable challenge. To ensure the most comprehensive analysis, the investigative team brought in Dr. Lee Park, a renowned cartographer and forensic geographer known for her expertise in historical and damaged maps. Dr. Park's task was to painstakingly examine the weathered document, hoping to extract any hidden details or annotations that might illuminate Ethan's last known movements. Dr. Park received the map, carefully laid out under controlled conditions, a tangible link to a man who had vanished so completely. Her initial assessment confirmed the difficulties ahead. The paper itself was fragile, and many of the original markings had blurred or faded due to moisture and sunlight exposure. Contours were indistinct, and some annotations were barely legible. The challenge was not merely to read the map, but to interpret its ghosts, to find meaning in what remained. This was not a simple matter of navigation. It was an archaeological excavation of a personal journey, written on paper that had endured a decade and a half in the unforgiving wilderness. The map held secrets, but they were deeply embedded, demanding a level of forensic insight few possessed. Dr. Park's work on the map was a testament to forensic cartography. Under the focused beam of specialized lights, and through high magnification lenses, she meticulously scrutinized every millimeter of the brittle, discolored paper. She wasn't just looking for obvious markings, she was searching for anomalies, for the subtle imprints of human interaction that might have survived 15 years of exposure. Her trained eye registered the faintest variations in paper texture, the almost invisible residues, and the minute changes in coloration that spoke of a story untold. It was a painstaking, solitary process, a dialogue between the present-day expert and the ghost of a past journey. Her breakthrough came not from a bold annotation or a clear path, but from a series of faint, almost imperceptible smudges along the map's margins. These were not ink marks, nor were they typical dirt stains. Instead, they had a greasy, particulate quality, a fine, dark residue that seemed to have been transferred by repeated handling. Dr. Park recognized them as soot rubs, a subtle yet definitive signature of contact with a smoky environment. Their very subtlety explained why they had been overlooked in previous, less specialized examinations. They were a detail easily dismissed as general grime, but to Dr. Park they were a distinct clue. Armed with this critical observation, Dr. Park began an intensive cross-referencing process. She understood that if these were indeed soot rubs from a fire, they could potentially link Ethan Carrow to a specific event. Collaborating with historical, meteorological and forestry records, she searched for documented wildfires or significant controlled burns within the Rio Grande corridor during the autumn of 2010, the precise week Ethan had vanished. The sheer volume of data was immense, but the specificity of the soot's chemical composition, analyzed in parallel, narrowed the search. Eventually, a match emerged. A localized, fast-moving wildfire, officially designated the Pinyon Blaze, which had occurred that very week in a section of the corridor just miles from Ethan's last known cell phone ping. This forensic alignment was the linchpin the investigation had desperately needed. The soot rubs on the map, combined with the precise location and timing of the Pinyon Blaze, allowed investigators to finally piece together a coherent timeline. The map now told a story. Ethan Carrow had been in the vicinity of that specific fire. This new information, when overlaid with his last recorded cell signal and the prevailing weather patterns of that week, began to construct a credible narrative of his final movements. His intended route, the environmental conditions he encountered, and the last known electronic trace of his presence suddenly converged, illuminating a path that had been shrouded in mystery for 15 years. The puzzle of Ethan Carrow's disappearance, though not fully complete, had finally found its crucial missing piece. The alignment of the map's soot rubs with the Pinyon Blaze provided the final, crucial pieces needed to reconstruct Ethan Carrow's probable last journey. Investigators now understood that the fast-moving wildfire, which had swept through a specific section of the Rio Grande corridor in the autumn of 2010, had directly intersected with Carrow's intended route. The fire, characterized by its rapid spread and unpredictable nature, would have created a chaotic and disorienting environment. It was highly probable that the blaze forced Ethan off his carefully planned path, pushing him into less familiar and potentially more treacherous terrain. The smoke, intense heat, and the sudden dramatic alteration of the landscape could have led to injury, severe exhaustion, or a desperate attempt to seek refuge on a remote tileless bench, precisely where his sun-bleached backpack was eventually discovered. While his physical remains were not found with the pack, the evidence strongly suggested that the Pinyon Blaze or its immediate disorienting aftermath led to his ultimate demise, leaving him lost to the unforgiving elements. For Ethan Carrow's family, this reconstruction, though profoundly heartbreaking, offered a profound and long-awaited sense of closure. After 15 years of agonizing uncertainty, the what happened finally had an answer, replacing an open wound with a defined, albeit tragic, narrative. The wilderness had released its secret, allowing them to finally begin the long process of mourning. The resolution of Ethan Carrow's case underscored the incredible synergy of human perseverance and technological evolution. Deputy Marisol Ortega's initial relentless efforts to find him, Trent Hughes's innovative drone technology, which provided the first tangible lead, and Dr. Lee Park's meticulous forensic cartography, which unlocked the map's hidden message. Each played an indispensable role. It was a testament to the fact that even the most formidable cold cases could be cracked when unwavering dedication met the opportune moment of discovery and advanced analytical tools. Ethan Carrow had dedicated his life to chasing riddles, to finding the hidden. In a poignant twist, the very wilderness he explored, the very elements of his passion, a map, the remote mountains, a fleeting fire, ultimately held the final cryptic clues to his own vanishing. The Rio Grande corridor continued to guard its vast secrets, but through a faded backpack and a forensic deep dive, one of its most enduring mysteries had finally been revealed, bringing a quiet, somber end to the riddle of Ethan Carrow.